One thing that I think unifies many people who are not just conservative or moderate or disaffected liberals is this understanding of media bias, how the system works. The story right now is from the Daily Caller. Media suddenly silent on importance of free press as Warren declares war on Fox News. If you're not familiar, Elizabeth Warren was invited to a town hall on Fox News, to which she declined. And she then called Fox News hateful, etc. She then released a series of photographs. This is from @JordanYule on Twitter. He says Elizabeth Warren just posted this on Instagram. In the first photo we can see, it says, "Stop the hate-for-profit Fox News racket," with Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity, all saying the same thing. Jeanine Pirro, and then Laura Ingraham. Now, here's the thing. When Trump repeatedly called out the press, or does call out the press for being fake news, or he calls out the fake news, the press, clutches their pearls and says, harumph, and egad, and things like that. They talk about how the president is openly, trying to stifle the free press and things of that nature. And I think to a certain extent, it's important to push back on the president. Look, the president is allowed to have his opinion, and just because you're in government doesn't mean you can't have an opinion on it. If Trump actually makes moves using governmental power to stifle the press, we've got a problem. So good, yes, pushback, please. Elizabeth Warren would like to be president, and she is now doing essentially the same thing. Curious then, when Ocasio-Cortez, like she just did, criticizes the press, calls them Republicans, when Elizabeth Warren says Fox News should be stopped, shut down effectively, where is the collective outrage? Non-existent. Well, what should we expect if someone like Elizabeth Warren then gets into office? She'll do the same thing. I mean, Cortez does the same thing. I think it's hilarious. I think Cortez is like little mini Trump. She gets mad because people fact check her. Sorry, if you say something that's not real and you get fact checked by a journalist, you can't go and complain about it later. I will point out, for one, yes, fact check Trump. That's a good thing. But we do know about the Trump bump, how the media is just trying to generate ratings by constantly being outraged by Trump. And I also want to point out, Trump isn't completely innocent in that regard. He played the media like a fiddle. He used controversy to promote himself. They say that he got like $5 billion in free press from the media constantly coming after him. Well, guess what? It worked to get you elected, but now it still happens. It's like, dominoes falling over. You pushed it over. It worked for you in the short term, but here we go. That doesn't mean I think the media has no responsibility. No, they do. They need to chill out. But let's read about what's going on with Elizabeth Warren and why she's putting out a call to end Fox News. The Daily Caller reports, some of the same news outlets up in arms over President Donald Trump's attacks on CNN and the New York Times are now touting Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren's war on Fox News. Warren's decision to snub an invitation from Fox to do a televised town hall prompted glowing headlines from the Washington Post, CNN, the New York Times, and other liberal outlets Wednesday. They highlighted her characterization of the conservative network as a hate-for-profit racket and noted it puts other Democratic presidential candidates who have taken Fox News up on the offer in the position of having to justify their decision. I was critical recently of NewsGuard because BuzzFeed wrote a story clearly not fact. It was opinion masquerading as fact. And I wonder what's the threshold for NewsGuard to rate. If you're not familiar, NewsGuard is a non. I believe they're a nonprofit. They're a business, and maybe they're not a nonprofit, but they give ratings to news sites. I use NewsGuard. I don't think they're perfect, but I think they're good. So I'll be critical, but I still appreciate their service. Here's the thing. Fox News, Daily Caller, Daily Wire, etc., they are rated as credible by NewsGuard. The only thing I think that NewsGuard takes issue with Fox News is that they don't disclose ownership or something like that. So if you're going to have all of these news outlets pointing the finger at Fox News and being angry, but you'll have independent fact checkers deem Fox News to be credible but partisan, well, then it's clear what they're doing is just political. And this is why I started this video by saying one thing that maybe unifies the disaffected liberals, moderates, and conservatives is we're all sitting here looking at various news outlets. I watch Fox News, not a big fan of the pundit lineup, but I think their reporting is fine. It's pretty good. NewsGuard agrees. I agree with NewsGuard. Okay, independent rating agency. I get it. They're conservative. But when I look at Vox and I look at, Fox News, I'm like, I get it. VOX, not FOX. You've got VOX and FOX, and they're on the opposite end of the spectrum. And I look at it and I say, I get it. They're hyper-partisan. They have their perspective. But one thing that's really important is that these digital media sites, they get a pass from independent news agencies like fact checkers, even though the digital sites masquerade as fact when they're really opinion. They don't label opinion, and they should. But of course, the rating agencies go after any conservative who would do the same thing. So anyway, the point is, if you're going to see the Washington Post, CNN, and New York Times, etc., and they're going to celebrate this or agree with this, it's clear that they have a political agenda. Because independent fact checkers say Fox News is legit. Anybody who would then push back, it's going to do it for political reasons. Fox News is a hate-for-profit racket that gives a megaphone to bad people. It's designed to turn us against each other, risking life and death consequences to provide cover for the corruption that's rotting our government and hollowing out our middle class, Warren tweeted. Fox News is welcome to come to my events just like any other outlet, but a Fox News town hall adds money to the hate-for-profit machine, to which I say hard pass. And I could absolutely say the same thing to MSNBC. Seriously, Russiagate for years. She also attacked several specific Fox News hosts, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, etc. Fox News is getting a debate anyhow, just not the sort that it courted, Washington Post media critic Eric Wemple wrote of the news. The debate concerns whether Fox News is in fact a news organization or something far different. Of course it's a news organization. They have pundits. So does MSNBC. Are they going to point the finger in the other direction? Well, guess what? There's more to the story. Something much more awful. Jay Rosen, he teaches journalism and directs the Studio 20 program at New York University. Well, what did Jay Rosen say? He tweeted, "It is entirely fitting that Fox News has become an issue on which candidates in the Democratic primary have to take positions. It tells us something about them. My coordinates on this are: talking to Fox viewers is good, legitimizing Fox News is bad, squaring the circle as hard." Excuse me? Legitimizing Fox News is bad? Why? Because they have a perspective you don't agree with? Then realize that this is Jay Rosen, a professor at a university, telling people that Fox News is not, credible, should not be legitimized. Well, I'm sorry, NewsGuard rated them as credible. So who do we trust? Well, here's the thing. I don't think NewsGuard is perfect, as I said early on, but I do use them because it's a good, barometer for my personal bias. I naturally have a bias against many right-wing and left-wing sites. I find some to be credible, and so I use them as sort of an alternate, a second opinion, right? Okay, what did you think? I agree that Fox News is credible. Why is a professor at university holding the opinion that Fox News should not be legitimized? Well, Michael Tracy brings up a very good point, saying, "What are your thoughts on legitimizing MSNBC? Considering they've filled the airways for 3 years with former FBI, CIA, and NSA officials pushing a debunked militaristic conspiracy theory." That's a really good point. Why is it that when professors and critics come out, it's always pointing in one direction? Makes you wonder. Well, I will say this though. The media isn't entirely absent because, I guess kind of surprisingly, not too surprising, The View slammed Elizabeth Warren for snubbing Fox News. Once again, we have a story from the Daily Caller, which reads, "The ladies of ABC's The View criticized Democratic Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren on Wednesday for refusing to appear on Fox News, calling the move short-sighted." Warren announced Tuesday that she had refused an invitation to appear on Fox News. We covered that. Warren explained that she wouldn't ask Democrats to tune in and support ad sales for the network. Sonny Hostin took the first swing, arguing that Warren's choice was at best dismissive of a large segment of the population, and I completely agree. "It may be a minority opinion, but I think that it's being very dismissive of so many Americans for her not to go on Fox News. Fox News is the top basic cable network in April. There are a lot of real journalists. They're like Chris Wallace and Shep Smith. And I think if you want to be president of the United States for everyone, then you need to speak for everyone." Joy Behar then cut in, pointing out the fact that President Donald Trump rarely appears on any other network other than Fox News, although she did note that he routinely took direct questions from reporters at numerous outlets from the White House lawn. "It's short-sighted on her part," Meghan McCain added, arguing that Warren's move was political and intended to rally her base, but that it may not pay off in the long run. If you can change one mind in a Republican household, that to me would be worth it. She's right. Whoopi Goldberg wrapped the segment by adding, if you can't face the Fox audience, you can't face the U.S. It's that simple. Bravo, Whoopi Goldberg. I've been a big fan of Whoopi Goldberg because she was on Star Trek The Next Generation. I don't agree with all of her opinions, but she's spot on here. If you're going to, and surprisingly, I find myself in agreement with The View. What a strange thing for a 33-year-old man. Not really. Their opinions are actually kind of diverse, right? Meghan McCain disagrees with the other liberals. They get into a lot of arguments. But here's the thing. If you're going to be president, you do need to represent everyone, even people you disagree with. Elizabeth Warren just hurt herself by doing this. Now, of course, I think she's trying to play the Trump game, but you can't be 2 steps behind someone and think it's going to win. Trump knows how to play the game, and he's paving the way. You can't come up from behind and think you're going to do the same thing he's already done. Oh, I know. I'll call Fox News the fake press. Fox News is the #1 cable channel, period. So they're the biggest base for independents, moderates, conservatives. You need to speak to them. How about you go on Fox News and you say, I disagree with your network. I think you use hate to make money, to get viewership. And I think everyone watching should be careful that they're being dragged. How about you do that? This is one of the biggest problems I have. We can all see it. Like I said in the beginning of this video, we know that there is a double standard at play. Why can't someone just go on the network, have a conversation? Look at what happens when Dave Rubin does this with conservatives. They call him right-wing. It only ratchets in one direction. So I think the most alarming takeaway from this is a university professor, Jay Rosen, taking this stance. And I will add, Jay Rosen has praised me as the most innovative journalist in the street. Granted, I'm in the street much less often, but here's someone who actually praised me, and I'm going to turn that back and say, I'm actually really confused why a professor would inject politics into the discourse. You should be explaining to people the importance of a diversity of opinion. Why? I shouldn't say why, but I guess just keep that in mind. That's what you get when you send when you send your kids or when you attend NYU. You'll get a professor who is going to be heavily biased against the biggest news channel and the biggest cable channel, period. Yeah, that's a bad bet. It's a really bad bet. If you want to win the presidency, you've got to talk to everybody. But we'll leave it there. I got a couple more videos coming up in a few minutes. And for those that are listening, stick around because more stories to come.